Hello, Maran sir. It's an honor to welcome you on the Iceberg Show with Saurabh Puranik.
Good morning. Good morning. Pleasure to be joining you, Saurabh.
So let's open this episode with your iceberg story. So you founded Car Technologies in 2005 and with your friends and built multi-million dollar business with the help of 700 family members. That is your employees. So can you please walk us through your entrepreneurial journey? What steps you followed to achieve that success?
Okay. Um, it's a very long story, but I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Mm, From the very young age onwards, I've been very much fascinated in doing something big, in trying to do something, make something happen, very young age. And if you really look at that, the 80s, which when I grew up, was one of a very lot of depressive time periods, which means a lot of joblessness around. Everywhere, any movie you watch or anything you read is always centered around jobless youth, educated jobless youths.
Hmm.
So it had a deep impact on me and said, why there should be so much of joblessness? Why can't we be creating jobs? Why can't we be the one who can employ people? Why can't we be the one who makes a difference to the society? Was a strong driver from very young age onwards. So that kept on simmering, I should say. And in the college, I met one of the best friends ever, and my friends Ratna, Selva. We met with them, and then we had all this doing. We used to call the term going for business. We never called it entrepreneurship. The term entrepreneurship was not popular in the 90s, so we used to call it business. So we want to start something as a business. So that's the term we used. And we strongly had lots of dream conversations, you should say. Myself and Ratna, we all had lots of dream conversations in which we said we should do something big, we should do this kind of business, we should do that kind of business. You know, as a youth, you just had indulged in thousands of conversations. So we had all that, and that dream kept on getting nurtured. So we all went our own ways, and myself landed in Netherlands, and I spent almost a large part of a decade. And Ratna landed in the US, worked in the insurance sector. He worked there for a large part of a decade, and same with Selva in Singapore and US, and also my colleague in George, my colleague in Netherlands. So we all had this common thought process, and we all kept in connections, and we always kept on talking, hey, when are we going to do something? When are we going to do something? When are we going to do something? So that was a simmering conversation always with my friends. And my sister also encouraged big time. My mother was a great inspiration in pushing me towards entrepreneurship. So usually family is restless, but in my family, they really encouraged me towards that. So all came together. And in 2005, a point of restlessness reached, right? So you want to do something, you keep on dreaming about it, you keep on talking about it, but there is an inaction period, you don't do anything about it. So at one particular point, that inaction starts killing you. I have to do something now, I have to do something now, I have to do something now. So at that point for me was 2005. So I said, I will quit my job. I was married, I had a daughter. She was 2.5 years old. I was in the Netherlands. I was a permanent resident. Life cannot get any more comfy. So it was the perfect life one could think of. But that gave me the most restlessness. So at that point, I decided to say, no, I'm going to pursue something of employment creation. My depth of expertise was in SAP consulting. So I said, I'll do SAP consulting. So I gave up everything what I had, lock, stock, and barrel, packed everything from Netherlands, came back to India one day, just landed. And then in Chennai, I started my ground zero, I should say, ground zero. So then started slowly building, and then the rest is whatever happened in this last 10, 15 years.
Okay, but what steps you consciously followed, sir, over these years? Because you had a successful corporate career and then you jumped to the entrepreneurship. So basically that transition like frustrates us or irritates us. So what steps you consciously took, sir?
See, there is something called this, there is a difference between dream and aspiration, right? Everybody dreams. Is there anybody who doesn't dream? No. Everyone in the world dreams. When I say dream, which means everybody wants to become something. Everybody wants to create something. Everybody wants to make something happen. Everybody wants to have an impactful life. So it's a normal dream for every individual to hold. But not everybody converts this dream into an aspiration. A dream becomes an aspiration when you start putting meat to that idea, which means when you start working towards that dream, it becomes an aspiration. For example, you want to say, I want to go from Chennai, I want to go to Bangalore. Okay. So you can say it's a wish statement. By saying that, nothing happens. You don't get there. When do you get there? When you start putting questions to it. When do I want to go to Bangalore? How do I want to go to Bangalore? What should I do to get to Bangalore? How am I going to reach Bangalore? Which way I'm going to follow to reach to Bangalore? When I ask these what, when, how, who, where, all these questions, when I keep asking towards my dream, at that point, the dream slowly becomes an aspiration, which you start working towards, right? So many people will say, no, I want to become that, I want to become this, I'm passionate about that. But are you doing something about it? Talking about it is different from doing something about it. So when you start putting small steps towards it, when you start breaking down that wish into smaller pieces of action, when the first step is to put a date to it. From a professional to an entrepreneur, if anybody wants to transition, the first step is to put a date to it. Because the putting a date to it builds a sense of urgency. It builds a sense of, hey, I have to do this within this time frame. When it's an infinite time frame, there is no pressure. You keep doing whatever you're doing and you're in comfort. There's nothing to disturb that. But when you mark a date to it, then it starts, hey, what should I do? How much capital should I keep? How much of reserve should I build? How many people should I lean on for help? How much capital should I raise? Whom should I bring as my friends? Who are my co-founders? Who are my co-travelers in this? Who are the employees I can hire? What is the idea I'm going to work on? I have hundreds of ideas. Which idea I will work on? Which expertise shall I build on? Which is the market I will study? It starts decluttering you towards that one goal. So I would suggest, first step, fix a date. 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now, depending upon which state of life you're in, right? Put a date. Okay. So that's the first step. And then break down your questions, and that for sure you'll be able to get to the point of crossing the chasm. We call that as crossing the chasm, right? Okay. There is always a valley you would want to jump before becoming from professional to an entrepreneur.
So that means the sense of urgency creates uncomfortable situation, and you take some certain actions toward that to overcome that uncomfortable situation, basically.
Absolutely, very well said.
Okay.
Unless you put a date to it, you cannot build that uncomfort zone within you. Nobody from a comfy zone can do anything of significance. Exactly. You need to be in an uncomfortable zone. When I say uncomfortable zone, there is a very big difference between stressing yourself and pushing yourself. You have to push yourself, which means if this is your comfort zone, push yourself a step beyond your comfort zone. If getting up at 6:30 is your comfort, get up at 6 o'clock. So that is called as pushing yourself towards your uncomfortable zone, that little delta, little extra. Whereas stressing yourself means waking up at 4 o'clock. So then you start stressing yourself. So you don't get there to the 4 o'clock overnight. You go inch by inch by inch by inch. So you always need to know where your comfort point is, how much you would push yourself, that delta, because then it becomes a pushing. When you do too much, it becomes a stress. Then it hurts you. So you should know that everybody should figure out that points of what is my pushing and what is my stressing.
Okay. But